Welcome to Rhyme and Reason, hosted by Dr. Barry. Today's guest, audio alchemist, Robert Alexander. And now, here's Dr. Barry Ryman.
Hello. Welcome back to the Rhyme and Reason podcast with yours truly, Dr. Barry. I'm excited to be back here after a few week hiatus. We've had a lot of stuff going on this end of the podcast universe. Some really cool things, stuff with work. And then I actually took, and I had to introduce this word into my vocabulary because over the last, I don't know, probably 10 years, I don't think I've taken one of these things, but it was called a vacation. I had to even check for the spelling of that. It's a foreign concept, but I had the pleasure of traveling with my father to the great land of Argentina. It had been probably since 2010 that I was actually out of the country. And even before that, it had been 31 or 32 years since I had actually been to Argentina, which happens to be where my dad was born. So it was an incredible trip. I got to see a lot of cousins that I haven't seen since I was about, 15, 16 years old. And I got to spend a lot of quality time with my dad, who is actually still over there because he went for 2 weeks. I just went for one. I had to be back here. I have these things called kids, and gotta be back for my girls. But I had just an incredible experience. It's so interesting seeing different cultures. The American dollar there is, let me tell you, just ridiculously strong. 45-minute cab ride was $2. Most expensive restaurant in all of Buenos Aires for 5 people came out to about $140 in total. Just ridiculously cheap, which I'm happy about. Jackie, hello from Ohio. Welcome. I'm glad you can tune in. Today we're bringing on a guest that I'm personally excited to learn more about. As you guys know, I represent a drug and alcohol treatment center that is completely and totally music immersive. So we use music as a catalyst to connect with our clients and break down barriers. And the gentleman who I'm going to be bringing on shortly, Robert Alexander, is an audio alchemist. He's actually located in Southern California. He's got a business called Life Rhythms, where he offers healing work via private sessions and designs, unique personalized pieces of music to help his clients find healing away from the work that they do with him. Alongside Life Rhythms business, Robert has a label signed music project called Evlove. His music can be found on various platforms online. He also was the creator and the host of Life Rhythms Radio, an online radio show made to help you. And on top of that, just to add a little fuel to the fire, he's actually coming up on 21 years of continuous sobriety. And he was introduced to me through a friend of mine that I know on LinkedIn who spoke highly of him. And I do want to be candid and say Robert was supposed to be on about 2 months ago, and not to his fault, all my fault. It just kept getting delayed and delayed. So Robert, before I bring you on, I want to apologize to you in advance and thank you for the patience you've had coming on to the Rhyme and Reason podcast. Greg, if you can bring Robert on. Whew.
Hi.
Hi. Oh, look, a good friend of mine, Peter Solo, Dr. Barry. Good to see you tuning in, Peter. Robert, welcome to the show from Southern California.
Thank you so much.
I would think that's far away, but after my 9.5-hour trip one way to Argentina,
right?
Southern California is a walk in the park, right?
Yeah. By the way, as for the apology, completely not needed at all. It's all good. Things happen, things unfold, so it's completely understandable. All good.
Thank you. You've been super patient, which says a lot about your character. And obviously things come up and that become out of our control, but I'm really happy that the day has arrived that we've actually gotten you on the show. So thank you for your patience.
My pleasure.
If you can tell me what in the fuck is music alchemist? Okay. We curse a little bit on the show.
Oh, cool. Me too.
Yeah. All right. So feel free to be yourself, but tell the audience, what is an alchemist?
Well, you were saying like a music alchemist. So there's some people that call themselves sonic alchemist. I call myself an audio alchemist. Basically, when I think of an alchemist, I think about something being turned into something. So like lead being turned into gold, and when I think of music just being music, music really can transform. And there's a very powerful essence. I mean, it's frequency and vibration. Many of us feel that we're frequency and vibration as well, with atoms and molecules, vibrating. So it's water, water moves, frequency and vibration. Everything is made of frequency and vibration. Music does move. I mean, I've heard this from scientists. I've heard this with music therapists. I mean, it's just, so why not call myself an audio alchemist if I create customized pieces of music and helping those really evolve into what feels right for them? So I chose that label because there's a lot of people out there, they're coaches. For me, I don't really resonate with the term coach. And in terms of being a sound healer, I feel nervous about calling myself, or uneasy about calling myself a healer, because the person who I'm working with is doing the healing. If anything, I'm offering various tools and resources, like a choose your own adventure book, saying, here you are, where would you like to go from here? And working in various ways with the person. So there's a type of alchemy that takes place that way as well. One person feeling from one way into another. So I figured calling myself that might be a great way to go about things.
I love it. It's catchy. I like the word alchemist. I might be favored to it because there was a coffee shop that I liked that was called The Alchemist.
Oh, wow.
Like you meet a person with a certain name and you're like, from now on, you just like everybody with that name because of that one person you met.
Yeah.
Or the opposite, right? You could have known someone who had a name that you didn't like, and now you meet another one of those, and right away your first thought is, I'm not going to like that person. But anyways,
yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your path to where you came from. Most people don't wake up one day and, they say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And most people aren't like, well, I think I'm going to be an audio alchemist. Like there had to be something along your journey where music was impactful in your life. Can you tell us a little bit about where you come from, what makes you tick, and then kind of what led you onto the journey that you've arrived to today?
Sure. Well, I knew from a very young age, even though, I grew up, my father's side's pretty musical. There's a few people on my mother's side of the family that are pretty musical as well. At the same time, people would ask me, growing up, not even as a kid, more like my teenagers, like late teens, early 20s. I'm like, well, I really feel like I'm here to help people, and I'm here to create music. And how that parlays, that's a whole different story. So I realized, no matter how conventional I would attempt to be, I just kept on landing back on my butt being unconventional. And by the way, I love coffee shops. I love the journal. And, it's one of those things when it comes to personal improvement. And, and I knew the first thing people would normally say in my life is like, so how's the music going? And I figured, okay, that's a good indicator. And for me, there's this deep sense of desiring to help others. The thing is, I know I cannot save other people. And a mentor of mine, her name is Ginger Adam Little. She's one of my mentors. She would talk about bandwidth. And I thought for the longest time growing up, I was totally out of sync, no pun intended, very much in a matter of just like I thought there was something seriously, wrong with me, because I would talk with people and they would think I'm speaking like, Klingon or something, right? So here I'm in this place where no matter how I was able to relate with people, they would look at me like I'm just like either way too sensitive, way too this, way too that. And I realized at one point, the more work I continued to do on myself, because I didn't realize how further along I was in my mental, emotional, spiritual development. And it's not about being better. I mean, I tell people I'm not about being better than anybody else. I care about bettering myself daily. So growing up, feeling uneasy, doing what I could. I mean, I was smoking quite a bit, cannabis. Well, I may not be as much as some people may have back in the day, but, I was doing what I can to relate with people. So there are various activities, and I never really stuck a needle in my arm unless it was like, blood work. If I ever did any, alcohol, I was drinking alcohol, it just, no one really taught me these things. I also lost a parent at an early age. I was 10 years old when my father passed away. And a lot of people growing up, I felt like I was really being dismissed for the way I was expressing myself. And I always knew like music at an early age was really helpful. So at one point, I could say with me getting a corporate job, I was experiencing corporate burnout, and I'm doing like a lot of like, back and forth just to kind of get some evolution going. Um, in that way, I was working with this mentor, and she was saying, well, why don't you become a coach? Because you're experiencing corporate burnout as a graphic designer. Like, why not, create a business as a coach? And then I met somebody else who was guiding me through guided imageries and helping me get down deeper into this essence of what I'm all about. And some people can call it hypnotherapy. Some people can call it past life regression or Akashic records. I mean, there's so many labels to some of the stuff that he's introduced me to. And so with my own inner work, I was able to, do these different things to help me create this business, Life Rhythms. At the same time, with me, like music has always been a love from, later on, I started, DJing a little bit. I have like this label signed music project called Evlove. With me being a music artist, I've been able to express myself that way. So along with my journey with music, I feel like the boy from next door. I grew up in Los Angeles, in the suburbs of Los Angeles. Now there's a global reach. Of course, I've been able to work with people all over the world, and that's been a choice of mine. So there's so many facets. In terms of where I've been, personal development's a pretty big thing for me. Emotional intelligence is a big thing. Mindfulness is a big thing. There's a lot of people out there that are going yes, and that usually means no versus yes. So I'm like, do you mean yes and no? Or, because I guess this, and, the other finger basically, that can be all mean the same thing in different countries, even this, So in terms of what makes me tick, like what's that drive? Well, I know there's people that are out there, and I know basically, it's so funny. I'm on a Mac, and Ginger actually wrote me, "How was your weekend?" I love how the timing gets with all that stuff. Yeah, it's one of those things where I realize no matter how conventional I would be, no matter how conventional I would be unconventional. So I realized, well, that's my rhythm. That's my life. It's not like, I'm like Gonzo from the Muppets or something, I mean, we all have our version of weird, right? So why not continue to, be in a space where I can ultimately be myself? And at the same time, though, too, why wouldn't I care about helping other people in a way that works? And if there's things that I've already learned,
I think we're experiencing some technical difficulties here. Robert.
Why not work in a way that's going?
You back?
Oh, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, yeah, you froze for a second. You kind of looked like this.
Oh, even better. Screenshot.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know if it was my computer or yours, but I'm pretty sure I'm good to go over here. Okay, all right. So tell me on a personal note, because we talk a lot of recovery on here. What led to you seeking help?
That's where it got interesting, because
we like interesting.
I'm sorry?
We like interesting.
Oh, yeah. And my world is never, ever a dull moment. There's certain people in my world that would tell me I should be doing certain things. And it's not like I'm like, la, 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 la. But what do you do when you're not being heard and you're not being really seen? And you're really not meaning.
Well, we got another screenshot moment here. Looks like he's processing what he wants to say. Eyes are closed, mouth is open.
So there was a certain. I'm here.
Okay, you're back again. This time you were like this.
This is so weird.
This time you were like this.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
You got to have like the subtitles underneath. It's going. I just time traveled to India. Or.
All right, go ahead. Well, the freezing keeps happening. I mean, we were looking real good for the first few minutes.
That got me into marijuana. Okay.
Yeah, you just froze again for like 20 seconds. Did something happen? Are you on Wi-Fi or are you plugged in?
I'm on Wi-Fi. And I was looking around, and it seems like everything should be okay. Because, I mean, there's times I'm hearing you speak, and I guess I'm not able to go through. Back in if I need to.
Yeah, why don't we try that? Why don't we try to...
Cool, let me log back in. I'll be right there.
Okay, all right.
Okay, bye.
Well, these kind of things happen. And hopefully it's kind of like blowing in a Nintendo when you can't get the game to work. Maybe he can blow into his computer and magically he's going to have a great connection. I mean, I was thinking to myself in the beginning of the show, wow, what a great connection we have. Because we've had our guests before that didn't have the greatest of connections. So, and Robert's back.
I'm back.
All right,
Yeah,
let's see if this works.
Let's see what's on with the flow, you know?
I was hoping you blew into your computer like you would blow into a Nintendo game.
Oh my gosh.
Remember that?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
To get the Nintendo to work.
Pressing it down basically to make sure, you know, everything syncs up. So you hold it down. It's like boom, you know?
Yeah. All right. So what led you to seeking treatment? Because we haven't heard anything.
Gotcha. Okay. So there was a scenario because a few people thought that I had a problem, you know, and it's not like I'm thinking I'm perfect, but what do you do when there's certain people that don't really understand where you're at? So at the same time, you know, I realized, you know what, you know, if they need me to stop smoking pot because they feel that I have a problem, fair enough. Okay, I'm willing to do that. And if I need to go to a Alcoholics Anonymous meeting or a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, because I didn't really do narcotics, when I heard someone say glass, you know, doing glass in a meeting, I'm like, oh my God, they were actually putting glass in there. I was just like, what? So I had no idea. So when I found out about Marijuana Anonymous, it makes sense basically that it made sense to me that, you know what, this is a place where I could relate. If I need to be here because I was called, you know, from like, you know, whoever it was that, you know, had me come in, then why not continue to work on myself in that way? And it's not like I'm thinking I don't have a problem. All of you, it's not like, well, I guess we all have some type of addictive personality, but at the end of the day, where can we relate? Where can we really move forward? Where can we stay true to ourselves? And I realized when they were going through the various steps, like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm already doing quite a bit.
Oh man, we were doing so good. It was a good run, Greg. We had about 3 minutes. Come on back, Robert.
These already, you know, taking my own account. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on.
I don't know. Keep going. You're okay right now.
Okay, cool. I'll just move it. If I need to reboot my computer, I will, because my connection is usually pretty strong. It's just one of those things where I realized, uh-oh. You there?
I'm here.
Okay, cool. You froze for a second.
I apologize.
Good. Oh, good. Shall I maybe reboot my computer? I don't think it'll take long.
Greg, can you come on here with some suggestions?
Oh yeah, so there's a few things we could do. One, try joining from your mobile device. So I would say back out, click the link on your iPhone or Android, whatever you have, and let's try going that way. Because if your connection is okay, it's probably just the device having a buffering issue. So let's go with that.
Interesting. I have a brand new MacBook Pro too, so that shouldn't be an issue. Let me grab my phone and I'll be right back.
All righty.
Okay, you can log off this platform here.
I'll log off of this one here. No problem. We'll see you in a bit.
Okay. Greg.
Yes.
Welcome to the Rhyme and Reason podcast with Dr. Barry.
I'm happy to be here.
You know, this is we're lucky enough to have a previous guest of the show on here, Mr. Greg Roselle, who's hard at work behind the scenes, always coming up with solutions when we run into issues. I'm over here sweating because I'm getting nervous now, right? I don't like technical difficulties. I don't do technical difficulties. I don't like conflict. I just want things to run smooth. But, you know, isn't that like sometimes life throws you curveballs and you just got to freaking deal with them?
Absolutely. I have faith that the connection should work once he switches devices, and we can get back to this story because it was just starting to get pretty good. I'm invested. Oh, we got him back. All right, let's take a look.
Let's see.
How are we now?
So far, so good. You can't get rid of me that quickly, huh?
You're even crisper now.
Yeah, you're crisper.
Frame rate and everything. Oh, don't tell me. Oh, we're good.
It's like one Mississippi, two.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Greg, would you suggest he gets off his Wi-Fi and just uses his cell phone signal?
If we run into it again, yes. For now, continue as is. I'm going to go ahead and pop backstage. Please carry on, gentlemen.
Okay.
All right. So your box is a little smaller, but you are crisper.
I wonder how about now? Better?
Ooh, that's look at that. That's interesting. Yeah, we just went full screen. Good job. All right. So you eventually came into recovery, right? What were you doing for work at that point?
I was actually working for a rabbi, and I was doing part-time work as his personal assistant, as I was looking for full-time permanent graphic design work.
Gotcha. And is that what you studied? Were you in school at some point?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you did graphic design. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And how long did you work for the rabbi for?
I was working for the rabbi for about 4.5 years. So I stopped drinking and smoking. Well, I stopped drinking in 2002. And I was working for the rabbi from 2000 until 2004.
Very cool. Good experience?
Yeah. Never, ever a dull moment. It reminds me of how versatile that I am, because I'm telling you, never, ever a dull moment.
Never a dull moment. Even on the Rhyme and Reason podcast, we're spicing things up a little bit. Okay. So take me to the point where you decided you wanted to switch career paths and follow your passion when it came to the music, and kind of what that looked like.
Sure. By the way, I'm doing what I can to look into the camera, and I'm not exactly sure with how my phone is in positioning. So we're seeing going
We're seeing you can just. Is there any way you could just prop your phone up somewhere?
There we go. Probably a lot better here.
Yeah, you just prop it up, and then everything stays still. Perfect, exactly. Right there.
Cool. There you go. Perfect. Okay. Well. Basically, I was working for a company as a graphic designer, and it was around 2010, 2011 when I realized, you know what? I got to get myself out of here. I mean, I'm not going anywhere. I'm feeling burnt out. At the end of the day, I have to do something different that's really going to nourish my soul. Although when it came down to doing the music component of my Life Rhythms business, I started doing that more in 2013, 14 time. So it's definitely been an evolution.
What is Life Rhythms?
So Life Rhythms is a business that I've created back in 2012, where I'm able to do private sessions with my clients, and I design personalized pieces of music to help my clients find healing away from the work that I do with them. So it's a very unique process that I do with my clients. Some people use affirmations and guided imagery to help their clients dive down into a space that's really important to them. So I found a way to create unique pieces of music to help my clients away from the work that I do with them.
So what does a session actually look like? Are you guys doing lyrical analysis? Are you in a dark room when everybody has their eyes closed and music is playing? What is a session at Life Rhythms actually look like? And then what is the purpose of it? Why do people come to you for these sessions?
Absolutely.
That's a 2-part question.
Absolutely. So there's 2 different types of sessions. One's called a resonance recording, because that's the session where I help create the audio for you, so you have something to listen to away from the work that I would do with you. So per se, you come to me and say, you know what, I'm really going through some issues. I'm feeling blocked. I'm, really just going through some really deep stuff right now. I've attempted to talk with a therapist. I've attempted to talk with mindset coaches. For some reason, it just, whatever's going on, I haven't been able to find my way. Do you think you might be able to help? I feel I'm calling out really bringing out the big guns, and I've been there before. I know what it's like to talk with various people, and it's not about anyone being bad. It's just who's a good fit. So I've realized, why not create these things? So when I'm doing a resonance recording for 45 minutes, you're just sharing with me what's going on. In this case, Dr. Barry, you're just letting it all out. This is complete private session. You get to drop F-bombs. You could do whatever you want. I get a better idea about where you're at. and a great way to see where I can, help you go deeper inside what's really important to you. Because if you're feeling blocked and stuck, there's usually a disconnection within ourselves if we're feeling blocked. So the next 45 minutes, I'm doing a guided imagery, providing a guided imagery that's tailored specifically to you and what your belief systems are. So if you believe in God, the universe, Nintendo, um, group of orderly direction, I mean, it could be anything. So I'm saying this because everybody has their own versions of what they subscribe to. And I realized, why would I want to have somebody subscribe to what I believe if they don't really resonate with it? So what I would do is create this guided imagery that's tailored around your belief system and help you go deeper into what's really important for you to help change your perception, your views, getting some learnings, understanding. And there's no music that's being played in the background. In fact, what I would do is have you get to a place where I could say, okay, well, how are you feeling? I'm feeling really good. Great. Um, you have something that helps you get to where you are. If you had some words of wisdom, or if you had certain things to share with you, with your own self, what would they be? And I would record that, right? So they could be affirmations. Someone could be singing a song. It's almost like that. If you look at a photo, like you remember what that would be like from like a gathering or a party or a family member, those are your own references. So from that place, I would say, okay, like here you are, you're in this place. What would you need from yourself to help you continue this state of mind? And in this place, you'd be able to share what's really important to you. I'd record this at this point. And again, this is a completely private session. Like this is all between you and me. So from that place, I take this recording and away from the session, I actually create custom music, meaning like ambient music, very soothing, so you can listen to it when you wake up, you can listen to it when you go to sleep. Nothing too jarring. Music goes behind it. And there's other things that I do as well too. And I figured if anybody else has questions about other stuff in that process, I can do that. In essence, basically, the resonance recording session is basically me doing this recording or creating the content for this recording that ultimately they're going to be getting a product that they get to listen to. So if they're feeling triggered, activated, having a desire to use, they're feeling lost, they now have an anchor for them to come back to. They can even use it to manifest. They can use it to manifest an outcome that's really desirable for them. They can use it as an affirmation. I mean, there's really cool things that way. The other sessions that I do, they're simply just called resonance sessions, because I'm not doing any music from that. It's a similar format of what I'm doing with the resonance recordings. And at the same time, it's one-on-one sessions. They're like coaching sessions. They're like hypnotherapy or guided imagery sessions. And I'm ultimately helping individuals with whatever their challenges are. And I'm working with them on a one-on-one capacity.
Do these people come back for additional sessions, or is this kind of one and done?
Some are one and done, and some are ongoing. It's preferable to have ongoing because that's where like a lot of the magic happens.
I mean, this is something that you came up with, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
How does one just come up with this stuff? And then we have Candace chiming in.
Sure.
Does the music have vocals, or is it strictly instrumental? Just curious.
Well, the music does have vocals. The music does have vocals for sure. The thing is, no one's singing. They're actually, the person who I did the session for, they're actually speaking over it. Now, that's their recording in the session. When I'm having them speak a spoken word or whatever it might be, that's actually being included in the actual recording. So they have reference point. Usually we're hearing not so great voices in our head, our inner critic. It might be someone else's voice when it comes to someone else being critical of us. Well, this is the place where we're actually getting clear, positive answers. We're hearing that space inside of ourselves. Some people call it a higher self. Some people call it angels. Some people call it Siri, I guess, at the direction inside. It just at the end of the day, the intention is to have spoken word in there, to have a reminder where you were in the session when you were actually feeling good. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I do remember that. Actually, I don't remember that, but that's really powerful information. I'm glad I'm getting wisdom to remind myself of, where I am here,
How did you come up with this?
So this is where it got interesting, Dr. Barry, because, and thank you, Candace. I really appreciate the thumbs up. Excuse me. So I had this idea basically that there's all these different people that are using affirmations. And I realized, wait a second here. It's great to use affirmations, like Louise Hay uses them, Oprah uses them, and it's great to use them. I guess the missing component is there's a reference point that one usually is able to come back to. And that's the missing component from what I've seen when it comes to law of attraction. A lot of people think they'll see these words over and over and over again until they believe them. But if they don't have a reference point, how do they know where to pull from the feeling? So I realized, it would be really cool as an experiment to see what would take place if I guided somebody through a process, have them dive deeper into what's really important for them, and they're feeling really good, and they're sharing, this information that's inside to help them from days to weeks to months. It could even be, for the next year or two. And they're listening to this inner wisdom inside of themselves. Why wouldn't someone want something personalized to help them on their journey?
That's it's mind blowing. Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
We're gonna dive a little bit deeper here, but
Please.
how can sounds and tones at their most primal and basic level improve mental health?
See, for me, very, very clearly, like I can have a little disclaimer. Like I'm definitely not a scientist. So for me, everything I do is more of an intuitive sense. So on a primal level, I think about the heartbeat, in the womb, really connecting with, mother, or, just feeling that sense of boom, 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 boom. So when it comes to basic sounds, like there's people that are using, drums in ancient rituals, or bringing like modern day sound baths are becoming very like traditional with like the Tibetan singing bowls and different drums and flutes. There's a reason why these tribes and these cultures have brought music into their healing ceremonies and spiritual ceremonies, and at the same time though too, it could even bring community in. So my sense, and I could be totally wrong, and I'm totally willing to be wrong here, is there is something, whether if it's like a pulse, there's certain frequencies that are really helping them dive deeper into what's really connecting them to healing, to a God if it's outside of them, to places inside of them where they can feel more calm. I know that if you're listening to certain elements of hypnotic type music, I guess binaural beats, they could be more hypnotic in that way because they're recurring beats that go on over and over and over again. I'm not really using binaural beats in the work that I do with them or with my clients. In this case, basically, when it comes to using sounds that we resonate with, sounds that are very calming, very relaxing, that can really help us dive deeper into transformation as well. It's such a broad area to discuss. And I think if you're talking with a scientist, they might give like the scientific data in terms of where things might be able to help you ascend to. For me, being more of an intuitive type person and working in that direction, I really feel for myself that there has to be something we can relate to. There has to be something that we can really relate to and resonate with, that we can create more calm. We can create transformation inside of us. We can relate to other people. We can all sing in unison and feel the change by all using our voices together. There is something very powerful with music. And again, with the frequency and vibration. Even hearing tones in our own voice and hearing us being in a different state of mind, that's pretty basic within itself. Hearing a difference in our own tones, in our own voice, in our own, cadence in the way that we speak. So I guess why wouldn't that be a strong sense of transformation within that self?
Love that. Yeah, music is powerful, right? Music is a mood changer. Music can bring us back to times in our lives where we either experience great pleasure or we have great pain. It can put us right back in that moment. I think it's called the echoic memory, that our brains are so powerful that they store all these memories, and they're compartmentalized in our head, and a sound on top of a smell or, most of our senses bring up this echoic memory that can bring us back to a time in our life where if we have work to do on certain areas, music can be a catalyst that breaks down those barriers, and opens us up to change. And once we're opened up to change, we become open to healing. So I'm a big believer in the power of music. What's interesting is music actually affects the same areas of the brain that drugs and alcohol do.
Oh yeah.
They can bring about that same state of euphoria. Think about a song that just totally and completely gets you pumped up. And it's a mood changer. I mean, look at my shirt.
Oh yeah.
Nobody ever died from a music overdose, right?
Love that.
And
So great.
that's a Recovery Unplugged shirt. But we're obviously big on the music. All right. What about when it's refined into music and organized song? Are there differences that you can discuss of their respective mental health benefits? Like, do you take a different approach with somebody who's coming to you to heal trauma versus somebody who's coming to you because they can't remember a time in their life and they want to bring that back up, or someone's coming to you because they're depressed or they're anxious, or I'm sure you see all different types of issues with your clients. There's a reason they seek you out, right? They could just be going through a rough patch in life. They could have self-esteem and insecurity. Are you taking different approaches with each person in respect to the music side?
Oh yeah. I mean, everybody is living their own life. Everyone has their own rhythm. That's the reason why I primarily created Life Rhythms, because I can really meet just about anybody where they're at. And even though I may not be able to fully relate to what they've gone through, there's usually some core things that are taking place. So again, when I'm doing private sessions with my clients, whether if it's a resonance recording session or a resonance session, me doing, me not creating music based from the session, ultimately, I'm really working with whoever the person may be. They can be feeling great, and 15 minutes into the session, they can be getting triggered. Or there might be certain topics that might be bringing up other things. They realize, oh, wait, I just realized that's the reason why I started drinking or smoking or, doing unique things that way. So I have this ability to meet somebody exactly where they're at and asking them how they're feeling and asking them where they would like to go. I think it's a really, really helpful way to go about that. So, is there really any major difference in that? Not really, because really being able to adapt to see where they are. I'm sure I've been able to identify in some way what they might be going through, and hope I'm answering the question correctly.
Mm-hmm. I'm just wondering, like, the people who come to you,
Yeah,
are the majority of people who are coming to you seeking your services already on a self-healing journey, or are you getting more people who are coming to you in crisis?
gotcha.
In other words, right? I mean, like, think about, I can only talk about, like, I'm in recovery now for 26 and a half years. Okay.
Yeah.
And I remembered what I was like prior to going to treatment, right? But I also remembered what I was like with a year or two sober and gung ho 12 steps and gung ho self discovery and gung ho healing and self help. Are you more likely to encounter that person who's gung ho self help, or are you going to encounter the Barry before he went into treatment?
Good question. Okay. Appreciate you clarifying. So the Barry before he went into treatment, chances are, if they are curious about, going deeper within themselves, if they feel like that's something they already instinctively know, there's a pretty big chance they could be like, you know what, I don't know what's going on here. Certain things are taking place. I don't know what to do. There's people that are on their path. They feel like something is, all these things they're working to a degree. There might be something missing. They might be realizing, wait, I am doing these things. I'm doing plant medicine journeys and I'm going to the bar and I'm not even drinking as much, but I'm realizing something just feels off. I need to go deeper inside of myself, or something's taking place. And I've attempted to talk with these different people. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I remember going to a therapist office, quite a few of them, and they're just like, you're fine. You're doing great. You're aware. You talk about what's going on, and I'm like thinking, like, then why is it that I feel like it's all forms of fucked up? Why is it that basically, like, I'm walking around and people are looking at me like I'm talking Jabberwocky or something? It just makes no sense to me. So it really took a person who I found out with who's really well known, but she was known in Southern California, at least, for the way she was able to work with, those in recovery. And I already had quite a bit of time on my end where I was connecting with this woman, Ginger Adam Little, and she was saying, there's really nothing wrong with you. This is where you are in your development. The thing is, I realized at that point too, like there might be other people that might be not at that place where I might be able to help them as well too. They feel like something is off. No one's really able to understand them. And I have that ability to reach somebody in a way where I can ultimately like understand them. I'm not going to be talking like text speak or business jargon with somebody that doesn't know anything about that, because it's speaking an entirely different language. If someone's speaking an entirely different language to me and I don't understand, I can say like, what do you mean? So there's a pretty big chance, they have a bit of personal development background, or they're curious about it before they would show up. If a person's like, yeah, sure, la 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 la, it's almost like if they're not really interested, there's probably a big chance they wouldn't even know about, not only about what I'm up to, they probably just wouldn't even have an interest, unless they were interested in music and they really feel that they can relate to music healing.
Makes sense. What would you say, Robert, and we're not calling you Bob.
My evil twin, you don't like my evil twin. He's Bob, No, my evil twin.
What would you say, Robert, is what you would consider to be the most rewarding aspect of your work?
Ooh, yeah, that's a tough one. The transformation element. When I see somebody going from to, they're really, and not only that, they get their music and they're just like, oh my gosh, like, I cannot believe, like, how did you make this? Like, how'd you make this? This is like perfect for me. About 95% of the time from what I've seen, it's pretty spot on. They're like, wow, like, how did you do this? So just seeing people create from this place, seeing them, just witnessing a different lifestyle from what they've been able to see in that's a huge reward. Knowing not only they're able to step in, we're able to co-create in this space. We're able to see in this space like what's really going on, and also seeing this person truly go through a rather radical transformation pretty quickly.
I mean, I think it takes, and this is just a candid conversation now, but I think it takes a special person to connect with another person that's in pain, right? And I truly feel, speaking from my perspective, that whatever my mission has been in life, the underlying constant since starting on this journey more than half my life ago has been to be able to help others. And I want to say, here's me getting vulnerable. I want to say it's because I really love doing what I do. And I do. But if you really boil it down, there's no better gratification. There's nothing better than you can do for yourself to feel better than to help somebody else. And so the reward of helping others in turn helps ourselves. But I do think that whatever that being is out there, whether you want to call it God or, like you said before, good orderly direction, right? That there are certain people that have been blessed with a gift to connect with others on levels that other people just can't. And I think that's important to say because it takes a person years and years and years at times to find their truth.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. By having the ability to become vulnerable, by having the ability to expose yourself to others, by becoming relatable, by getting down to that person's level that they're currently on, speaks volumes in turn and really helps you connect with the person in front of you. And that's a general you, right? So I want to say that what I do on a daily basis is just because I'm a really good person and I love helping others. If I didn't get the gratification I was getting from helping others, I'm not sure if it would be a life mission of mine, right?
Yeah.
And that's being honest.
Oh,
but
yeah, absolutely.
But I do think that it takes a special somebody to make that their life mission. And it seems like from talking to you now for 44 minutes, minus the 8 hours that you were like this, or that, or.
Yes.
But no, I think from the time that we've been talking, you seem to have those characteristics of somebody who, again, genuinely wants to make the world a better place. And you want to make people's lives better. And it's not through scientific method, which is why I like it even more, right? This is something that you ingenuitively came up with. And I'm assuming you've seen great results because you've been doing it now since 2012. And if my math serves me right, that's a whole decade of, of life rhythms. And that's a big deal. Most people don't do anything for a decade straight other than breathe, right? So I just wanted to give you props.
Thank you.
On the other side of that, I had just asked you what is the most rewarding aspects of your work, right? I'm going to flip the script and ask you, what do you see as the most challenging aspects of your work?
I think because of how unique. Well, by the way, thank you for the compliment. I really appreciate that. Even though I started implementing the music component like in 2013, 2014, it's still a development. Still though, I really, it's a huge deal. It's a really, really big deal. One of the challenges is how unique this offering is. You know, being able to position this out in the world. Like most people that would come to me lately, it's been more of like a word of mouth versus like major advertising or anything. So with me offering such a unique service, getting it out there into the world has not been the easiest thing to do. You know, one would actually have to experience it in order to really get a sense of like, oh wow, this is like legit. Like what's going on? You know what I mean? In terms of a challenge when it comes to working with clients, certain people, they can only go as far as they can go. So sometimes working with that is part of a fun challenge. At the same time, though, too, I really, truly do believe that there are certain people that really deeply desire and need this service more than they would even think. And they would barely even know how to find me because they're probably used to only knowing what they may know versus me being plugged into various other outlets. So it's a very interesting challenge.
Who is your ideal client?
I believe my ideal client is somebody who I might have mentioned them before to like a certain degree because basically they're realizing something is taking place. They feel like they are functioning in the world to a degree, although something is off and something is continuingly like, you know, feeling off as time is unfolding. So at the same time, they wonder like, okay, I'm doing these things. I don't understand why they're not working. It really would be helpful to get some extra assistance and just like, I'm really feeling connected to music. Someone who's very much like myself. I mean, we usually model businesses because it's like our ideal clients usually someone like ourselves. So with me, the way like a lot of the world works, I haven't really been able to subscribe too much to it. Not like I'm saying everything is bad and, you know, fuck this, fuck that. You know, it's one of those things where it's what's really going to be helpful. And I've realized the type of support that I receive that's been very helpful has been very rare to find. So me seeing how these types of opportunities have unfolded, the person who's looking for me, the person who's working with me, you know, they're really like, they're truly curious. There's like a deep desire to really go deeper within themselves to see like, wow, like there is more to the mix of what's going on. You know, they're really committed to doing their work.
I appreciate that. And you know, listen, there's from what I hear, it's not a cookie cutter approach regardless, right? So you kind of tailor, you fully tailored the session to the person's needs, wants, desires, and where they want to go with it. So I think that's another really cool thing. Now, if somebody wants to take part in this, do they have to be local to Southern California?
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. I mean, I work with people all over the world. I use Zoom.
Okay, so it's just as effective.
Oh, yeah.
Over Zoom, except when your computer's freezing.
Yeah. Close your eyes and yeah, that's actually part of the mix.
I like it. It's like
count to, you know.
Now, am I able to ask what your services cost for anybody who might be listening or anybody who, you know, this is a midday podcast. So Greg has the numbers. I don't ever see the numbers of how many people are tuning in, but yeah, we probably get about 150 to 170 viewers while it's live, but then it gets uploaded to Spotify, Apple iTunes.
Nice.
And so, if somebody out there is listening and wants your services, and towards the very end here, we're going to put some links up on the screen of how people can find you. But what does it cost for your services?
There are various services that I have, and I definitely have quite a few links on my. I mean, I could offer the links to you guys. There are certain people I do sliding scale services for because they're just like they're breaking the bank. Some people might be experiencing sticker shock. A standard resonance recording would start like at $349.
$349. Okay.
$349 for that. But there's ways I've been able to work with resonance sessions and such as well too. I mean, there's like monthly packages. There's like a 3-month package. There's like a 1-month type thing. I mean, there's so many different things that I'm offering.
Listen, and there's no need to even justify, right? This is your business. You have to put food on the table. You have to afford your mortgage or your rent or whatever is going on, and you have to be able to eat. So, and you provide a service that is effective. And I do think it's cool that you provide at times sliding scales for people. And for those of you who are listening that don't understand what that means, it means that if you can't afford the full price, he'll work with you on that.
Oh, yeah.
Is that accurate?
Oh, yeah. The thing is, knowing their commitment and knowing where they are, I'm all about, because I know I've been in that place where I'm just like, wow, I'd love to work with this person. And it's like, well, I see how committed you are. So and there's other ways to work with that too. I mean, there's ways where I've been able to work with somebody where they're either doing like a suggested donation, or they're referring people to me, or they're connecting me with other people. I mean, there's so many ways to go about doing that. And I really realized, like, why take that off the table? I mean, it's been effective for me. Why wouldn't it be effective for other people too?
Awesome. So we're coming up near the end of the episode. I want you to give me a couple things that you'd really like people to know about Life Rhythms and your work in general. So maybe they weren't here in the beginning of the podcast, or should I call it the pausecast?
Love it. For the new generation, now it's called Podcast because Zoom and technical difficulties and stuff like that. So brought to you by StreamYard.
Brought to you by StreamYard.
Exactly. StreamYard.
Let's see. Cedric says, for me, when I help someone, I give them the space, talk, and listen to how they're feeling can be really helpful in itself. What do you think of that?
Absolutely. Having a pair of ears is really important. I think a lot of people, they feel like giving advice is the most helpful thing. And I realize like a pair of ears can do so much. People say the words like you should. I don't subscribe to shoulds. Even the word want, it's a really interesting place. Like, what is really want anyway? Like, what do we desire? What's important to us, So at the end of the day, though, too, it's one of those things where my intention is for everyone to feel the way that they desire at any given moment. And it's great to have tools and support in ways that really work best for each person at every given moment.
Just to kind of compound on what Cedric said, I thought about this years ago. I'm a believer in the 12 steps and the fellowship and the meetings, and it's just what's worked for me, okay? And when you really think about how a 12-step meeting works, there's no crosstalk. And what you notice is that somebody who raises their hand to share, initially they might talk about an issue they're going through, a problem that they're facing. But by the time they're done talking and sharing, they've already come up with a solution. And guess what? With no help from anybody else.
Yeah.
All there was 25, 30, 40 other people in that room that sat there intently listening. And what that tells me, and these are just deep thoughts right now, something I haven't thought about in years, but what that tells me is that typically, internally, we already know the answers. Mm-hmm. But sometimes up here in our brains gets things so scattered and gets so loud that we often get confused. What's the old saying that God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, because he wants us to listen twice as much as we talk.
Oh, wow. That's really powerful.
Never heard that before?
Never heard that one, I don't think.
No, but if you think about it, there's truth to it, right?
Oh, yeah.
I had a friend of mine in college. His name was Eric. And to this day, and we're talking, this was back in 1993, so almost 30 years ago. And I remember sitting on a couch talking to him. And what I remember vividly now, almost 30 years later, is how intently he looked me in the eyes and he listened. He just flat out listened. Mm-hmm. And that made a profound impact on me. And that has shaped me into how I speak with others, right? That it's important at times to zone in, right? Make eye contact, sit there, listen, and allow the other person to be heard, which is the most important part.
Oh,
because
yeah.
the majority of us never feel heard, right?
Oh, yeah. We can listen, but being really heard, they're two very different things.
I'll tell you something cool we do at Recovery Unplugged. Prior to a client coming in, we do a phone assessment over the phone with a client, right? They could be in Southern California, they could be in New Jersey, they could be in Idaho, Ohio, and we get a pretty robust history on them. Medical history, mental health history, substance use history, treatment history. But towards the end of our assessment with them, we ask them what their favorite genre of music is, who their favorite artist is, and what's that one song that touches them the most. Okay.
Oh, wow.
This is super original for an assessment.
Oh, yeah.
No other treatment centers do this. We jot it down. Jonathan, who is doing the assessment, the client, completely forgets that he even gave us that information. He makes his travel arrangements. He lands in the airport here in Fort Lauderdale, and our driver is there to pick him up. And upon entering the vehicle, Jonathan sits down, and that song is playing for him right away when he sits in the vehicle. And guess what happens? Right away, rapport is established. The walls come down. And he's like, wow, you like Bob Marley? How did you know I like this? And what we say is, we listened. We heard you. And it's the smallest things sometimes that make the most profound impacts on people.
Oh, yeah.
And Robert, I think the way that you tailor your sessions and incorporate music through the process is genius.
Thank you.
I think it's genius. And I think you're onto something. Is there a way, Greg, do we have any links that we could put up for Robert on how people can find him? If not, Robert, you can start saying them and Greg will type them.
Sure. So one thing I was going to say too is I actually have a product that's called Genie in Your Headphones. It's a guided imagery series and it's pretty affordable. And it's a five-track module, basically, or 5-track series of how to connect with your inner genie, how to clean your magic castle, or how to clear so many different things that are taking place in your mind. I mean, it's a really cool journey, and even a free download as well on my website. So one place you can find me is liferhythms.us. So LIFERYTHMS.US. I like to say .us.
Okay, Greg, you got that? There we go.
There we go.
liferhythms.us, and they can go there to contact you, to book an appointment.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a long waiting list?
Not at the moment. I'm always, anyone that comes through you, especially, I'm taking care of them in a heartbeat. You better believe it.
All right. Well, listen, you guys let them know that you heard about them on the Rhyme and Reason podcast. This has been awesome, Robert. Again, to reiterate, we talked about for the first 2 minutes of the show. Thank you again for your patience. Thank you again for bearing with me in all the different schedule changes that have occurred. We had people who we had booked that canceled last minute, but can only do a certain week and blah, 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 blah. And then we kind of put the whole podcast, instead of doing it weekly, just for our listeners' information, we're going to be doing this podcast now every 2 to 3 weeks. Still bringing the great content. but we got to give the producers behind the scenes a little bit of a break. Cedric says, I really love this. Thanks, Recovery Unplugged. And there was another comment on here. I think I might have. Oh, Cedric said, here we go. Most people are afraid to ask for help because sometimes it's scary. So I try to offer reassurance. I stay calm, patient, and try not to make assumptions. Good stuff. And then Candace says, thank you. Keep rocking that recovery. We appreciate you guys listening. Robert, thanks again. And we are out.
Thank you again.